The city was exhaling its last tired breath. For Leo, it was just another Tuesday bleeding into a Wednesday. He stood on the deserted subway platform, the fluorescent lights humming a weary tune. He scrolled through his phone, saw the text from his wife, "Can we please talk when you get home?" and slid it back into his pocket, unanswered. He chose the silence of the office over the storm waiting at home. He chose the last train. It was a small decision, a choice made of cowardice and exhaustion. He didn't know it was the last choice he would ever make. He boarded the empty car, the doors sighing shut behind him, and as the train slid into the darkness of the tunnel, Leo finally allowed himself to rest, his head falling against the cool glass of the window.
He woke with a jolt, not from a noise, but from the lack of it. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the track was the only sound. The train car was still empty, but the air was heavy, static. He looked at his watch. Hours had passed. He peered out the window, but there was nothing to see. No tunnel lights, no passing stations, just a profound, absolute blackness that didn't even reflect his own face. The digital display at the end of the car, which should have shown the next stop, was a frantic, garbled mess of red symbols. A cold knot of anxiety tightened in his stomach. This wasn't right. He pushed himself up and walked through the connecting door to the next car, then the next. All empty, all bathed in the same sterile, humming light. In the fourth car, he finally saw someone. A man, sitting perfectly upright, dressed in the immaculate uniform of a World War II sergeant. He was staring straight ahead, his hands resting on his knees.
"Excuse me," Leo said, his voice sounding loud in the silence. "Do you know what's going on? What stop this is?" The soldier didn't move, didn't even blink. Leo felt a chill crawl up his spine. He took a hesitant step closer and glanced at the black window beside the soldier. In the glass, Leo saw the reflection of the car, but the soldier wasn't there. He was somewhere else entirely, kneeling in the mud of a war-torn field, smoke coiling in the air around him. Leo gasped and stumbled back. He snapped his head back towards the seat. The soldier was there, no longer staring into space, but looking directly at him. His eyes were ancient, filled with a weariness that had nothing to do with age. "New arrival," the soldier said, his voice like dry leaves skittering across pavement. "Miss your stop?" Before Leo could answer, a new voice cut through the air, dripping with sarcasm. "Oh, look, Miller, a fresh one." A young woman emerged from the shadows at the end of the car. She was a riot of color from a forgotten decade, a torn leather jacket, spiky pink hair, heavy eyeliner. "Welcome to the Midnight Express, suit. End of the line." "What are you talking about? Where are we?" The girl, who called herself Jinx, laughed. "Purgatory, limbo, the long ride home. Call it what you want. This train doesn't stop. Ever." Sergeant Miller simply nodded in solemn agreement. They were trapped, and now, so was he. Leo spent what felt like days in a state of disbelief, pacing the endless, identical cars. He refused to accept it, but the truth was unavoidable. Jinx, in her cynical way, decided to prove it to him. "This tin can runs on one thing, suit." She tapped her temple. "Regret. The heavy stuff. You want to know why you're really here? Go on. Look out the window. But this time, really look.
Leo hesitated, then moved to the black glass. He closed his eyes, his mind flashing back to the office, to the phone buzzing on his desk, his wife's name on the screen. He had silenced it. He had chosen work. He had chosen silence. He opened his eyes and stared at his reflection. But it wasn't him on the train. The reflection was of him in his office, looking down at his phone as it rang. He watched his reflection's thumb hover over the screen, then press ignore. The reflection then looked up, its face a mask of guilt. It panned down to the phone screen again. The text was sharp, clear. 15 missed calls from Anna, his wife's name. A wave of nausea hit him. It wasn't just a missed call. It was a refusal, a final, selfish act. His journey through the train became a tour of sorrows. Each car seemed to hold the aesthetic of a different era, filled with more faded, translucent figures lost in their own loops. A flapper from the 20s, endlessly reapplying her makeup. A businessman from the 90s, forever checking a silent pager. They were the long-term residents, worn thin by the years.
In a fit of rage, Leo threw himself against one of the connecting doors, trying to force it open. The result was immediate and terrifying. The lights in the car flickered and died, plunging them into absolute darkness. A high-pitched, metallic screeching filled the air, a sound that felt like it was coming from inside his own skull. A pressure, cold and immense, swept through the car. It felt ancient and angry. Just as suddenly, the lights flickered back on. The door Leo had touched was now covered in a thick layer of frost. The conductor doesn't like those who break the rules. Miller's voice was low and grim. It's not a person, it's the train, and it keeps its cargo. They found a car that looked like an old dining car, empty tables set with dusty plates. Sometimes, Jinx explained, a rare note of sadness in her voice, the train offers you a treat, a memory. Tastes just like the real thing, but it costs you. You give up another piece of who you were. You fade a little more. Desperate for answers, Leo cornered Miller. How do we get off? The old soldier looked at him, his tired eyes seeing straight through Leo. You've been asking the wrong question. It's not about how, it's about why. This train feeds on unresolved regret. It anchors us here. You don't break out, you let go. You have to face the moment that brought you here, and you have to accept it in its entirety. That's it? Leo asked, horrified. That's the only way? That's the only way, Miller confirmed. Jinx just scoffed. Or you fight. You find a way to beat the system. Just then, a sound echoed through the train. A sound none of them had heard before. Not static, not a garbled message. A clear, female voice, soft and familiar. It was his wife, Anna. Final stop, the voice chimed. Last chance. With a smooth hiss, the doors of the subway car slid open. But outside wasn't a station. It was a perfect, impossible recreation of his own front door. The warm light from his living room spilling out onto the train platform. Home. It's a trick,
Jinx warned, her cynical armor firmly back in place. Miller simply looked at Leo and gave a slow, solemn nod. "It's your choice." Leo walked towards the door, his heart pounding. This was it. A way out. A way back. He reached for the brass doorknob, but as his fingers brushed against the cold metal, the wood of the door dissolved, becoming transparent, a window into the scene he had tried so desperately to avoid. He saw his living room. He saw his wife, Anna, her face streaked with tears. But she wasn't alone. A police officer was standing beside her, holding his hat in his hands, his expression somber. He could see his wife's mouth form the word "no" over and over. He finally understood. His regret wasn't that he had fought with his wife, it was that he wasn't there to comfort her. He hadn't just been late coming home from work, he never made it home at all. The accident had been swift, sudden, on his way to the very station he had left from. This wasn't a train for the lost. It was a train for the dead, an echo chamber for the final, unresolved thought.
Tears streamed down Leo's face as he watched the memory play out. He couldn't go through that door. He couldn't fix it. He could only accept it. He let his hand fall from the doorknob and turned his back on the image of his grief-stricken wife. He faced the empty interior of the train car, and for the first time, he felt a sense of peace. He let go of the guilt, the anger, the desperate need to turn back time. He accepted. And as he did, his body began to dissolve, not into dust, but into warm, peaceful particles of light, which floated up and vanished into the humming air of the car. The doors hissed shut. The train car was empty again, the rhythmic clatter of the wheels the only sound. In a corner seat, a woman in a business suit, her face etched with exhaustion from a long day, slowly dozed off, her head falling against the cool glass of the window. The Midnight Express continued its endless journey. The Midnight Express doesn't take you where you want to go. It takes you where you need to be. The final stop isn't a place, it's an acceptance.